Welcome to the Daily Examiner, to Talanoa. My name is Ali Leao. It gives me good and great pleasure to welcome you on board to have a bit of a chit-chat about what's been going on. Good stuff going on. There's some very, very exciting things happening. First, an apology. I have been sent across the country again, so I'm doing stuff around the country at the moment. I'm in H-Town, City of the Future. I'm in Hamilton. Now, I've forgotten my gear. So if it sounds a bit odd, please let me know in the comments. Not a problem. I can change things, adjust things as we need to. I want to make sure that that just because I'm using my earbuds that it's not wrecking things overly. So let's get started. Let's get stuck into it, and we'll get started in the way that we do with a bit of rotu. So, dear Lord, thank you so much for this time. Thank you so much for each and every day you've given us. Thank you so much for the breath of life itself and the gift of opportunity that we can have with each other. So, Lord, I pray that it's a great time tonight, that we have a great chat, great discussion, and that we push hard into the future. In Jesus' name, amen. So, wonderful. Sandy Burmester, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very, very good. Regan Booth, yes, we have heard this. We'll have a chat about that, especially, not a problem. So, some of us have heard the news, and we'll be interviewing that candidate very soon. That is the person who is in DemocracyNZ. The candidate has been announced, and we're very, very honoured and humbled that it is someone that we know very dearly. I was also on there just to, putting in a little bit of words here and there, so we'll see. Now, she'll be coming on soon. She's had to have a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a recap, and then we'll go into it. So I thought we'd have a little discussion on some of the things that have been going on, things that are important to have a look at. One thing that has been coming up that has been brought up, and maybe I did this a little bit on purpose, is on Sunday just gone, that is 2 nights ago now, I was asked in the afternoon if I could MC an event, and the event was a Freedoms NZ event. Now, the Freedoms NZ is an umbrella party that is set up, or rather, the leaders are Sue Gray and Brian Tamaki. And so far, there are some parties that have joined up. That would be, of course, it would be Vision New Zealand, and also NNP, that New Nation Party, as well as Rock the Vote, and I believe also Outdoors and Freedoms Party, and I believe there's another lobby group in there as well. So these are parties who came on board with that particular group. Now, I emceed that event. And I'll be honest, I think, you probably know me a little bit by now, and I was somebody who likes to poke a little bit, so I'm fully aware of the perception of that. Now, I absolutely respect and I like a lot of the policies that those crews or that coalition stand for. I definitely agree with it. No, I'm not a part of them, at least not at this stage, and to be honest, I am in a part where I have got no pushing anywhere in particular. I like the Freedoms NZ idea. I think that the idea of grouping together is a good idea. It's a pragmatic idea. When you've got groups like NC and DemocracyNZ and Freedoms NZ, you're seeing, I think, more fractures in the way or the vote being split. Now, I personally don't like it. I think we have our candidate in there now, but before I bring her on, I do think that it's a better idea to join. I do. I think that, and I'm coming also from having a couple of campaigns under my belt, and I see it from a different point of view. Harry has just brought up a very good question here, and I'm going to relay this, and we'll discuss this with our candidate when she comes on as well. She's asked me about this as well. Harry said, have you seen the expose video on Vision Tamaki's regarding jabs test clinics being circulated in the past few days, and if so, what do you think about it? Harry, great question, thank you. I have been sent it. Now, I've watched about 3/4, so I haven't finished all of it. I only got it sent today, so I listened to it while I was driving to Hamilton. Listened to it. Well, I was right in Hamilton. And from what I can gather, now, please note that I don't have a dog in the fight either way, really. So I'm looking at this as, well, cleanly, without bias. It seems to me that in terms of Samantha Edwards' video, it appears to be more of an issue around the relationship between George Ngātai and Destiny Church. I know I've actually known George for a while, and we've gone head to head on a couple of things. George and I, we see things very differently. Politically, he and I pretty much just don't agree. As advised, I do think he is. Now, this is, please note, my thoughts. I think that he is a bit of a globalist. I think that he is very strongly for co-governance. I do not like either of those. I think we should be treated equally, and I believe in the sovereignty of New Zealand. I think that New Zealand is our nation. This is our place. This is NZ, not UN. So I'm very strong in that point. I do think that George is a very, very good businessman, and therefore he has been able to garner a great deal of money and structure. I do also see that, or rather, I do not see, and Brian, as far as I can tell, is someone who does believe in the ideas of capitalism and business and is actually able to separate things quite a lot. So when it comes to the whole business around the whānau ora clinics, which I never agreed with that name change, with all of those little pieces in there, I think that Brian's accurate. I do not think that they have, or they've removed themselves from having the right to be able to speak about that business. And Brian, in his past, he was a very big businessman. He understands that clarity of differentiation. I do think that. The video seems to be strongly supporting the idea that George Ngātai himself has been playing pretty loose with the ideas around vaccinations, tests, and the government money, which I think there is validity in that. I will say, though, that the idea that the vaccine is straight poison is too far for me. I wouldn't say it's necessarily purposeful poison to attack populations and the whole depopulation theory. I'm not fully there. I do think that it is a junk vaccine. I do think it is faulty, but I am not yet at the point where I would say that it was purposely so, that it is a genocidal or a depopulation tactic. I'm not at that point. I do see it faulty. Also, when you think about it, Brian has said that multiple times that it's not actually about vaccines per se, as in yes or no, but he's more about you choose whether you want to take it or not. And there is a separation in there in regards to George Ngātai and the Destiny Church overall. So when Samantha Edwards was bringing up points, I think most of them are valid, but it's not really taken into context, or it's not really adding in all the whole context. It's very much strongly taking a narrative position and then adding up points that run in line with her point of view on it, which again, I think is absolutely fair. That's an opinion-based article, no problem. I think that's absolutely fair. Now, when it does come to George Ngātai, yeah, fair. I think that there is significant questions that need to be asked about his own practice and his own integrity on that practice. I will say, though, that sometimes when I was watching that video, if you're aware of some of the challenges that George has, some of the holidays actually make sense in a bit of a sadder way. So I think she is taking some things out of context there. Around about the whole Eddie Long, I think that is the name of the Tamaki elders, as in Brian's mentor. I would say that it's a bit more difficult. I don't know about Eddie. I've never agreed with Eddie Long's discussion around I've never agreed with Eddie Long's prosperity teaching. I do not like prosperity gospel teaching. I think it's wrong, but not so wrong as to remove themselves from salvation. I think that it's just a bad theology. I think it's bad and wrong theology to be pushing. The pedophile stuff, I don't know. I just haven't looked into it enough. I don't know. So that stuff's I'm unsure of. I don't know whether it's accurate, not accurate. I don't know whether Samantha Edwards is conflating it or pushing up there, or she's absolutely correct and there is scumbag behavior or predatory behavior there. I don't know. I do know that some on the counterspin team have a belief that there is a literal, and I mean a literal, pedophile area under Parliament, and that's just some of the ones who I've talked to, and I've told them before I don't believe that. I think there are bad practices. I think there are weak, and that Oranga Tamariki is broken. But I don't believe that there is a full pedophile ring underneath Parliament. I don't. And I'm happy to discuss that with people. Again, you know how I roll. More than happy to discuss it and to argue it out, reasons why. So, yeah, I don't think it was the big bust that I was told that it was. And again, that's just my take on it. And I look at things. You got to understand, after 20 years of working with youth, at-risk youth, you sort of have to cut through some things and judge it by its merits, on its merits, and that's how we sort of roll. So, yeah, I can understand if Brian brought Eddie Long over and thought, the rumours are nonsense and whatever. Again, I don't know too much about that. I don't know whether there's been a charge or a conviction, and he's passed away anyway, my understanding is. So I think he's died, and yeah, I just haven't looked into that. I do apologise if I haven't. I've only done it 3/4, so I'm just moving way into there. All right. So Mark's put up one there. Elliot Bro, why don't you join DNZ as a candidate? Oh, gosh, Mark, why you? Hey, we'll have a chat with Mike. I tell you what. Let's put it up here. Now here we go. Nathan Mills. On vaccine, it is deadly population control. You need to do more research. The truth is truly out there, Elliot. I'm blown away, upset you can't see it. You've put up red flags for me. Fair enough, Nathan. I respect that. If I put up red flags for you, all good. I'm straight up. I will tell you whatever. I tell you what I think and what I believe. Perhaps one of my issues is that I don't have as much guile as others. So I'm not very democratic, and maybe sometimes I should be a bit more diplomatic or soft in how I say things. But that's just what I think. All right. Happy to be proven wrong, because then that's the way in which we get there. That's why we love free speech, so that we can engage in fierce conduct and we can talk about things. All right, so absolutely. Thank you for that, Nathan. Mark has been a bit of a smart aleck there again, eh? All good. So, look, without further ado, I would love to bring on the Democracy New Zealand candidate for unnamed part of West Auckland. Welcome to Leao Tildsley. Leao, talofa lava, good to see you. Hey.
Hello, Elliot. Apparently this was the worst kept secret ever.
Yeah, it really was. Shockingly bad one. Look, just before we get into it, Nathan, cheers, Nathan, appreciate that. Thanks for being respectful, honest. You answer and don't avoid questions. Marlo, bro, I do, and I also want to say I respect what your questions are, even when it's like, tough questions, all good. Bradley, let's go. Yeah, hey, what the? Hey, Bradley, hey, don't you? Hey, sorry, I'm doing Samoan accent week. Oh, what
Samoan
the?
accent week.
Oh,
You're as white as they come.
Hey, whoa, okay. Let's hey, the racist or what a far right guy. Hey. All right, so first off, Leao, congratulations. Really, I think it was really awesome. I think it was a great meeting that you just had with Matt. Great to see Karina on there, and really powerful sort of stuff. So what electorate are you running for again? Was it, Leao? What was it?
I'll let you know on the 22nd.
All right. So just for our audience, if you want to, chuck in questions, just chuck in questions. All right, chuck in questions, and we're going to start spouting out. All right. Now, Leao, wonderful. Do you mind? Can I just start asking questions? Sorry, I mean, let me rub my hands down here below where the camera sees. All right.
But
So,
listen, let me say something before you ask, okay?
Oh, what?
I'm not. I am standing, okay? So you're on the outside throwing stones, all right? So I will choose to answer or not.
Oh, all right. Oh, hey. Now look, Camilla's out there. Oh my goodness, Leao, what a surprise! But I'm so happy you've joined DNZ. Oh, very good. Trish has got in there. Congratulations as well, Leao. Steph, congratulations, Leao. Just got the end of Matt's live with you on it. Oh, absolutely. Mark's in there. Good on you, Leao, for standing for with DNZ. Thanks for standing for our freedom. Shalom to you and the family. Excellent. Bradley in there as well. So yeah, look, great stuff. All right. Now,
Okay, come on, Elliot.
okay. Okay. So we've got, and I know you were listening in the background. We've got DNZ, we've got Freedom NZ, we've got NC, we've got now that the Leighton Baker parties come up, we've got parties coming up. What's the deal? Is DNZ speaking with people? Is anyone, what's going on? Is there any sort of communications going on between the groups that we on the outside can hope that someone pulls together to do something?
Listen, Elliot, I literally just got announced, all right? So I don't know all the ins and outs, but let me tell you something. Anything can happen. If the leaders of each of these parties really put in their heart the people before their parties, anything could happen between now and the election. If we can see that the super parties are coming together, there's something in the heart of man. If we really are concerned about them, anything can happen. So right now, the people are forming their parties, and obviously they have their different opinions about things. But I think as we get closer to the time, there'll be some sort of urgency in all of our hearts to go, we can't let them reign again. They've literally wrecked this country. I've been on a road trip for 2 weeks, and honestly, the beauty. I mean, you've been on road trips all the time. How beautiful our country really is. It is definitely worth saving. And so, you never know what kind of negotiations can happen. I'm just a candidate. I'm not the leader. I'm a leader in my own right.
You're a leader in your own right. No, fair enough. Absolutely fair enough.
That's just fun.
All right, good. Now, also, we've had a few questions. I came up with a few questions on my other profile, and I'm curious to know what your take was on it. Did you hear that Elliot Ikile was the MC for Freedoms NZ the other night?
Sacrilege. You know what I like about you, Elliot? Is that you don't care what anyone else. You don't care what anyone else thinks. You will go and help a friend out, or you will stand, and you're a good facilitator. So you don't even have to agree with them, and that's what makes you a good politician. Did I say that out loud?
Wow. There was actually something that came up, and in the last meeting that you were having with Matt, I couldn't help but thinking that there was something that, and I'm not sure whether it was you or Matt said, and it was about common sense. Common sense has gone. We need common sense back. And as soon as that was said, I couldn't help but think about the group psychology or the anthropological psychology around common sense. That common sense in itself was simply someone did something in the trades. They died from that. Electricity coursed through the body and they died. That lesson of how not to do something was then passed on to the other in the immediate vicinity of the person who dealt with that. Those lessons were then imparted on to others and others and others. And that got to a point where it was a collective understanding, all stemming from that. I can't help but feel that maybe terms of New Zealand psychology, that the ideas of democracy and independence, of the things that we had wars about, where many of our people died over, and that we seem to have been kept safe by men and women who defended New Zealand and defended New Zealand values, even internally, so well that we seem to have forgotten the sensibilities of why they were protected in the first place.
That's right.
As in, why do we protect family? Why does it even matter? Why do we protect children? Why do they matter? What all of these elements that used to be having to be physically fought and defended for, then we found that we needed to systematically or systemically protect all of these things, these valuable pillars of society. Now we're finding that now they're under physical threat, that they're under educational and systemic threat, and we're down now to this idea of ideologically having to defend it, or to defend the ideology itself that protected the pillars of New Zealand. I can't help that when you mentioned that thing on your last meeting around common sense, it really did seem like we were missing that element.
Yeah. And I think that's come through education. I believe, like, even as 16-year-olds, even the kids that were out doing the climate change protest, that has all come from them, the propaganda being, forced onto our children. And so now we've got them thinking the world's going to end in a minute. And so we have to be part of that. So common sense is completely gone out the window. There's no sort of reasoning to ask, does climate actually change all the time? Like, where does it go back to? Instead of that, we have the kids out there protesting over the fear-mongering that has come from education. So you think about it, common sense has, we've taught it less and less. Right?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, well said. So in terms of Democracy NZ coming on board, and the political area that you're about to go in, what are the main values that you're going to stand for in the electorate that you're going to stand, wherever that might be? What are your big stances?
My big things are going to be justice. It's going to be family. Myself personally is going to be life. Even though it's not particularly a stance for the party, I want to be able to hear the people, hear what they have to say, because a lot of them have a lot of the answers. Actually, most of them do. People who are just fed up with what's going on. They want to. I want to be able to hear them because we assume a lot of what people actually need and want, because we don't listen to them enough, So, So justice.
So it seems to be justice, family, and
truth.
Sorry, I forgot the other one. Life.
Yeah, life.
So, okay, justice. Are we talking about criminal activity escalation, or what? When you say justice, what do you mean justice?
Well, there's so much corruption with the court systems and law in general. Like we have people who have been arrested and put in jail for protesting. We have that's the kind of justice I want to sort of. I mean, I don't know. I'm just literally 10 minutes into being a candidate, so I guess I have to
hitting you with the hard questions.
Yeah, local community too. I
think definitely local community.
Yeah. That would be one of my biggest ones.
So at a local government, you wouldn't do what Nanaia Mahuta did and basically shut down Tauranga so that they don't have any local democracy. And I believe that's for the next few years at least anyway.
I mean, we've got democracy in our name, so, you know,
Mm.
we're going to have to, get back some of that stuff.
Yeah.
The very core important things.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Mark's brought up a bit of an interesting comment there. I have wondered if the school kids who protested on climate change, would they have been as many if not held on a school day, or if they were asked to pick up rubbish instead of marching? And that's a really good point from Mark. I also can't, I agree with the kids grabbing onto something to protest. I do. I think that the idea of social advocacy is something that children innately want to do, and I think good on them. They want to throw in there, and well done. I think it's what sucks is, or what is offensive, I think, is that the teachers are weaponizing the children and pointing them towards what they want to. And for them, it is that whole climate change, and now, of course, you're having the sexualization aspect as well, where children are to be sexually, well, I would say, groomed into having a understanding and having a very odd understanding, a very deeper level of understanding of sexual appetites. And I don't see why children need to be told of that. So I think it's really interesting that they're doing those. Mm.
I think it's important to note that a lot of these kids will have huge mental health issues once the sexualization is introduced into schools. And that's what I have kept saying over and over, that we really don't have an understanding of how bad this is going to be for our kids. We sort of say, well, it's better that the teachers teach than, it's an awkward conversation to have with your children, but it's better coming from you, because you know how much you love them. First of all, your teachers may appreciate your kids. They don't necessarily love them. So you would know the gauge of their just their age capacity of how much they can take. You wouldn't be teaching them from 4 years old or 5 or 6 or 7. Just let them be kids. They need to be able to enjoy being a child, because then they can grow healthy into the stages that they need to know these things.
Now, there is something that in the comment has come up, and I think it's a very valid comment, and it is a question again, and I recognise, and we all recognise, that Leao is only 2 minutes into the job. But this is fair to bring up and to discuss. What about joining Freedom NZ under the umbrella and be part of a really strong London voice? Unite on the things that you can all agree on, putting aside any differences. You're all great people with so much to represent the voice of the people. Has this been a consideration? Now, I know there's a couple angles. One, that Leao is new to this team, and also on the other side, that there is always going to be conversations which must be discreetly held within the team itself. I am not a part of that. So when I'm asking this question to you, Leao, I am also a little bit on the outside as well. Is this a consideration? Are you allowed to say any angles around this, or what's your take on this?
Like I said before, and Angie, anything is possible at this point. If we want enough of our people to be able to stand, I don't see why not. I don't know the ins and outs either. I know what I need to do over the next while. So I will be able to at least give you a little bit more information as as it comes to the party. I know that Matt has had a lot of conversations with a lot of the leaders. So, whatever people say about him, he has spoken to most of the leaders that are standing right now. So, again, anything is possible, Elliot. And I think the way that we are heading, and things like hate speech and all of these coming into, by force almost, we may not even have a voice the next election. Do you know what I'm saying? So we have to put a lot of things aside if we do want to work together on this and get this tyrannical party out.
So also, you had on the episode that you had with Matt, there was Karina Shields, aka Auntie Hey Hey. She was also on your show. Now, Can you tell us what's up there? Is she running? Is she not? What can you give us there?
She was going to be a possibility to run, but things have happened in her own personal life that she has said that she can't run this time. But she's very supportive of DemocracyNZ, and also sort of the Māori, talking about Māori vote and just the different things that she's involved in, that it is a huge asset to DemocracyNZ. So she's very much a huge supporter. So if you decide to come in June for our meeting on the 22nd, she'll be there too.
And June the 22nd.
Yeah.
What day is that?
That's on a Thursday night.
Thursday night.
It's going to be at Hub West, 27 Corbin Ave in Henderson.
Hub West, 27 Corbin Ave.
Yeah.
At Henderson.
Yeah.
No problem. Well, we'll make sure that our cameras are there and make sure that they're filming. Would love to see all of you there as well. We'll make sure that we can get there. I'll make sure I'm back in Auckland.
You better be there.
Bradley has also asked a very, very important, very vital question there is, what's the spread going to be like?
Probably a few island-style food.
Good on you. Good on you.
Bradley, you better know how to dance.
Yes, very fair, very fair. Robin's also come up here. I was scrolling through Chanel Lyle's post where he put forward the stats that 22% of teens under 16 identify as part of the rainbow community and is expecting that to increase. If Inside Out and other groups and other like groups are allowed to influence all the children in schools, this could well be the case. Robin, very good point. Now, that 22%, I'm pretty sure that statistic is actually a bit bogus. It's a little bit very pseudo-scientific. You'll find that the last I'm hesitant to say decent, but the last reasonable evidence that we had, which was a very reasonable report, had that about 3% of the teens said that they were LGB. So LGB. The other group, the Ts were a little bit similar, and then you had a lot who were, the majority of that 22% were questioning or unsure. And so that's what you have there. Now, what is scary is that the indoctrination process, that grooming element that we see coming out of schools is new, and yet it is starting to push children into being confused, sexually confused. We do expect that to increase. We do. What we might do is something really cool, and it came from Pendulum Media, it's not from us, but I'm going to make sure that our team pop up a particular video that was presented to a New Zealand school at HBC, but I don't know what was HBC. I don't know what is HBC. It's a high school, and it's of a parent of a child or children, and then she speaks very clearly. She's written it down and all that good stuff. So we'll make sure that gets posted up. It's a really good, powerful video clip. It's very, very good. And also, I believe next week, I think it is, that another school, and this one is going to be in East Auckland, and when I mean East Auckland, I mean in the more higher socioeconomic area of East Auckland, that they are also going to try to confront their board of trustees over the sexualization that they're starting to see being groomed into their children. So parents are waking up. Parents are realizing this aspect, and they're starting to push it more and more. I've been very honored. I've been asked to speak to a Rock the Vote group, and that's on the 17th. If you get along to one of these things, go there, challenge those who are speaking, have a chat to those of us who are speaking, and go for it. Really put us under the pressure, put us under the gun. We've got the goods. We can let you know, we can show you what's going on. But we must stand up for our children. And when I say that, there is no parliament politician is ready to fight for it. None. Not even my favorite guy. And I have to say, he is my favorite guy. Not even, but I suspect this is a suspicion. I suspect he's been told he's not allowed to even do that. But even politicians who do not like the grooming that is occurring to your children while you're not there, while you're at work, they've been told I think that they've been told very clearly that they are not allowed to use this as a issue. And isn't that disgusting? No political party in Parliament right now will defend your children against the absolute sexualized education that's been foisted upon them while you're not there. And I cannot understand that one. Why? I just don't understand why some of them don't just come out and say, get stuff, you know what, it's disgusting. They are teaching it. And they want you to shut up. That's what they really want. So it's absolutely disgraceful. Now, Lynn Warren, Elliot, is the video school print? I'm not sure, Lynn. It could be. I believe the surname of the person is Marie. It was sent to me from a Pendulum Media. So good on them for doing that sort of thing. All right. Matt Tracy has also brought up the Italian president has made June Family Pride Month. That's awesome. Maloney. Beautiful celebrations going all over there right now. Absolutely. You know, and we really do need to do this. And I think it's really important. Leao, something has come up and I want to bring this up. Now, again, we recognize that you're 2 minutes in the game. We just want to see if you're able to or not. Karen Rush has brought out this. I've heard that Matt King will not leave the WEF if he is pushed into it. His words. He makes no promises. This is a concern for me. Can you clarify on this, please?
So, on their policies, one of their party positions is we are a sovereign nation and we won't be controlled by overseas influence. And so that includes WEF, WHO, the UN. I don't know any more of that, but I will be asking him this question. So, because that's important to me too. That is important to me, that we are not ruled by them, because we will be eating bugs and we will own nothing and be happy about it. So I'm very much up there with you, Karen. So watch this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Karen, also, I would say now, I don't know how Leao feels about this, but I'll say it. I do not think we can just up and leave the UN. I don't think it's as simple as that. It's basically like a big loan that you can't just gap it out of the loan. We still need to be in there. What we don't need to do is to follow what they say. We don't need to do that. There is actually I wouldn't say requirement, but we do need to sort of still be in there. But we don't need to do what they say. We can still be a sovereign nation and belong to them. We can still say, yeah, we're part of the crew. No, we ain't going to do that. We ain't going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And we're not going to do that. Well, we might do that. We do have the power to pick and choose. The only issue is that the New Zealand politicians so far have aligned New Zealand straight under there. They've left, or that they are pushing us away from our traditional objective morality, and now they're utilizing the United Nations morality. And of course, that includes things like the WHO, the WEF, and those pillars that they have there, which I think is extraordinarily dangerous and foolish, because it's not objective. It is very much always shifting and changing. I think that's really dangerous. So we've also got, now we've had one in there. Oh God, few in there. Awesome. Sandy has brought up this. Now, I know you brought this up, but please, Leao, if you've got the patience for us, we do sometimes need to have you give this. While you're asking questions, Leao, can you clarify with Matt his abortion position? My understanding is that he is pro-choice.
Yes, he is. He is pro-choice, but he has also said, and I have made it very clear to him, that I believe in life, and so does a few other candidates. So he said whenever there is a conscience vote, which that will fall under, we can choose. He will not make us toe the party line. He will give us our opportunity to vote how we see fit. So he's pro-choice for now, but just...
hey, Leao working. No, good on you. And I must admit, even from it's odd, really. I I think I thought that I would be fine with pro-choice elements, but I think I'm struggling with it, and I don't know why I'm struggling with it, because I understand the pragmatic approach of it. I get it. I get the political pragmatism that sometimes it takes, which is some do, some don't. When we look at it, we know that it is a human life that is in there. We know that. It's very clear cut for us. But the issue that you have is, in terms of politics, the game. Again, truth is not as important in politics. It's not. It should be, but it is not. Perception is what is more important than truth when it comes to politics. And it is wrong, but that is what it is. And so when you've got people who truly believe, and they're being fooled, no doubt. They'll be fooled into believing that killing a baby somehow is empowering for the mother. But they do. They do believe that. I remember when I believed that. I do remember when I believed that. And I truly didn't believe it. I thought that there was an empowerment factor. It was not until later. It's not that far ago that I did believe that it was not good, but not bad either. Just a horrible, hard decision had to be made. I don't really regard it as a human being being killed off. That's absolutely. Karen Rush has put in there. Thanks so much for answering my question. You have my vote, Leao. Woohoo! Hey,
my fifth vote.
Sandy brought out here. Yeah, me too, Elliot. It would be a reason for me not to vote DNZ. And I'm not saying I wouldn't, and I'm not saying I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I like DemocracyNZ. I like Freedoms NZ. I like them both. There are people, a few people in National, who I really respect and have great affection for. I'm trying to think of Labour, but can't think of anyone. Can't think of anyone there. But I'm trying to think. The old school Māori Party, there was some powerful, great things in there. So I think, So for myself, I'm stuck. I don't know who to vote for. I think in terms of who I have a really good love and like for currently, it would be DNZ and Freedoms NZ. I think that's probably where I'd angle. Act as a Christian and a conservative, as both, ACT is a no-go. ACT is nearly like Labour. National is just not strong enough. It's not so much that their policies are bad per se, but I don't see much difference between them and ACT, to be fair. And Te Pāta Māori, they're basically the economic freedom fight, whatever they call it in South Africa, is basically Malema. He's quite racist. Then you've got Greens. That is crazy. As in, I think that could be clinically crazy. Labour, sure. I think Labour. Jacinda Ardern was an absolute straight-out socialist. I think she was a straight socialist. Straight. I don't think there was any problem there, assuming that she was. Now that she's gone, the rest of them are trying their socialist colours, but they're just incompetent. I think Michael Woods was gone. How incompetent does your party have to be that you actually now have to have in your cabinet? You now have to have backups, a backup for your backup as for your backup. So I think they're at fourth backup or something like that. They're just insane. Anyway, Wally's brought up a very valid question. Now, I've answered this. Leao, what are your thoughts? Now, just for those of us who haven't seen it, there's a video going around. It's from Counterspin. It's Samantha Edwards, and she has put out a video on a it's an article. Yeah, okay, say it's a documentary, that's fine, on Brian Tamaki. More specifically, it seems to surround this issue about a testing caravan or a testing unit, a COVID testing unit on the grounds of Destiny Church, and I believe that's the South Auckland one, the Woody one. and then it alludes or alleges that that there was money exchange all over the place, and that the Tamakis, or at least Destiny, were a part of that. So that's what we're talking about there. If you've seen it or not seen it, Leao, I assume that you have seen it. If you have, what are your thoughts on it?
I find that very interesting as to when it was released. I always think about motives. I think about motives a lot, and not just this particular one, but just whenever I see something, I try not to say much because I don't know the full answer. I see one side. I have seen Brian's response as well, and he's actually denied quite a lot of that. So yeah, I guess for me it's by your fruits you will know them. So I guess just just things that come out, just don't take them. You know, how do I put this? It's not easy to understand where people's motives are for it, but I really like to check on why now, why this time. Maybe it was the whole collection of things that Samantha wanted to bring together, and she does make some good points, but then Brian does as well. So, just how do you handle?
Yeah, fair enough.
How do you can't? Oh, she says I'm very quiet. That's unusual.
That is highly unusual. That's very. I can hear you very loud.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. No, Leao, you're sort of actually. Oh wow! Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl's just come out with a shocking allegation saying Elliot's loud. I don't know what you. Oh, and that was being put up. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. So Leo's sort of roughly saying sort of what I'm saying as well, is that it's not really as clear cut as what it seems to be. Yes, the videos, if you take the video at its word, it's quite shocking and it looks really bad. But when I matched it up with what I did know, and then when I've only done a little bit of contextualization, it's not as hard hitting as what it first appears to be. There are, if you know business, I'm not saying she doesn't know business. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But business, and Brian has been in his past has been a very big businessman. George Ngatai is a good businessman. I'm not, politically, we are pretty much opposite, George and I. We've gone head to head. There's a particular meeting where we went, whoo, it was pretty hefty. I think it's online somewhere, but it got pretty brutal. We basically went I actually think that's right, the husband of the National Party delegate there, she or he got up and he started swearing at me on that same meeting. That was a fun meeting. I might have to put that up actually again. So that's cool. It's all good. But I think don't take that one. Take that with a grain of salt. Again, not saying that it's wrong. Just saying that there is some parts that I think is not putting into the context fully. So I think there's some context missing there. All right. So I wouldn't. Just be a bit weary to swallow the whole thing. That's all I'm saying. All right. Oh, Wally said, please do. Yeah, okay, very good. All right, I'll see if we can. Because in actual fact, I believe it was their team that sent me the same video. So it's like, oh, cool, because we know afterwards it was okay, but it got hefty because it started going on to co-governance, and I basically said, no, the treaty does not say that. It does not say partnership. It says this, and this, and the three basic articles, and George was very strongly opposed to that, and even went into, I know you, Elliot, and you should know better than that. So it was good. It was good. It was fun. was pretty hefty. And then I do recall the National Party candidate, her husband actually got it when I started talking, or when I did a little bit of a smart aleck reply, and oh geez, I think he dropped a few F-bombs in the middle of the, and that was in a church. Sorry, I seem to have that gift of making people angry at me. Sorry, my bad.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. Harry Jones, Takanini debate. Takanini! Yes, it was in Takanini. I filmed it, and the national candidate told me I don't have her permission to use it. A public meeting. Hey, Harry, put it up, bro. Put it up. All right, put it up. It's great fun.
Don't get Harry in trouble.
Oh gosh,
this is how national really are. It was a leaked one.
Well, yeah, it was leaked. Oh, good fun. That was good fun. That's the thing. The debates, and perhaps that also angles out to why it is that the freedom parties are suddenly being more popular. Is that, gosh, I do not want to sound like a wanker here, but what we spoke about as a team in 2018, 19, 20, and to be honest, even a bit before that, but politically 18, 19, 20, we were proven accurate with everything that happened. The sexualization of children, the removal of Christianity, the removal of areas of freedoms, we didn't see the select committee. That one we didn't really see. We didn't see that one coming, that they've basically shut out the public into those areas. The shutdowns, the lockdowns, the mandates. We said it all. We said that this was coming. And we've also said that the era of co-governance would grow, that it would turn into all-out apartheid, and it has segregational power, And so I think some people have felt the pain of that. They've maybe connected a lot of what groups like ours or our teams were able to bring out, and maybe that's why it's a little bit more louder and prouder and out there now. It could be a Netherlands time. It could be a Italy time. I mean, Brian brought up a very good point on Sunday, which was that Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, their crew got about 4% in their previous election, and then the election just gone, they bowled in. They rolled it because the people finally recognised what had happened to their country, and they needed it to change it. And things have been going much better now. Things are improving. So, yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. But, Leao, what do you think? What are your chances in terms of the the groups, the parties, your electorate? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? How do you think? What's your feeling of the mood out there?
I think people want change. And I travelled for 2 weeks with my husband through the lower North Island, and everywhere we went, people were like, give us some hope. What kind of hope can we have? And so, you know what? I'm just going to stand, and I will continue to be who I've always been, and that is I love people. And I want them to have a voice, to be their voice, and to actually, to relay back to the party some of the issues that people are facing. And crime is a huge one, especially in West Auckland. So,
yep.
That's all I can do for now. Like I can just do what I can do. And I will do my best, and that's all I can offer.
Well said. I do want to just confront this last question that did come from Denise. Denise, good to see you. Hey, long time again. Now, Denise has said the freedom parties are too divided. Why? Now, I've got thoughts. I'll give mine, and then Leao, if you could give yours. My thought is that it is a very much a thought process. It is a conservative / right-wing issue, whereas the left, very well known to group together, mob together, and then be a single force going for something. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter really about the other parts. They'll group around one particular issue, and then they'll flood. That's where they do well in that. They're a collective. They have collective mindset, so they're easier that way. Whereas the right or the conservatives/libertarians, the people who are centre or right, we tend to think individualistically more. We think about our family, so we think about risk adverse areas. So when we think about things, we're thinking about policies. We're thinking about all the different ramifications that can happen. Because of that, we're less likely to, or we run the risk, or well, not the risk, we are doing this, where we go, okay, I like this and this, but I don't like this and this and this. Therefore, I will only stick between here and I'll silo myself here. And this is what I'll go for, and we'll go forward in that way. Whereas the left will just go one topic, and everything else that's dotted around it doesn't matter. We'll just deal with it before. We'll just put our head forward, collective. The right will not. They will think individually, and they'll angle it that way, and they'll choose which ways. So you can have it going up like that. Now, that is, of course, a bit of a problem in the style of politics that we have, because it rewards collective thinking and punishes individualistic thinking. That's, I think, where we do have an issue. Ironically, first past the post works better for those who are conservative or at least on the right, rather than the left and the far left that we have currently. So that's my thoughts. Leao, what are your thoughts as to why are there so many freedom parties, or why are they so divided?
So I want to ask you, Denise, why do we have so many churches?
Interesting. Good question. I mean, but then I think that's, maybe you're right. When you talk about theological, but you talk about theological. Yeah, okay, fair. That's fair.
If we can't bring together the churches, why would we have any hope in the parties, the freedom parties, coming together?
It's a really good point. Oh gosh, do we have churches? Where are the backbones of our churches, who are supposed to be our moral guardians?
Yeah.
Where are they? Gosh, I started yelling, and then I realized I'm actually in a motel. So, sorry, T. Sorry about that. But you're right. I think in terms of the churches, we must have the churches actually step up. They've got to be part of this discussion. For too long, they have been behind their billions of stone.
Do you know the last time when we stood, I like I've said before, Elliot, I went to some churches and I said, can you just allow me to just talk about, standing for righteousness? And they said we won't have politics in our church, or would have to get everybody's party to come. And I said, my reply was, if we don't allow politics to be part of the church, politics will rule what the church does and doesn't do. And what did we end up doing? Politics stepped in and said, you guys are going to be divided. And how many hurt people have come from churches that have listened to the politics of the day and have hurt so many congregation from segregating them. So again, I say, allow people to speak, allow them to come in and say, look, you can turn a blind eye to politics, but it will end up ruling you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, if you're voting for Labour, you're voting for one of the most anti-Christian parties. You really are. That's objective fact. That's objective, and that's a problem. You are voting for an anti-Christian party. Not secular. It's anti-Christian. They've already brought out anti-Christian policies. So don't fool yourself into thinking that this whole idea about religion and state. Don't forget, their whole separation of church and state didn't come from New Zealand. It came from, I believe it was Thomas Jefferson, and it was in the early days. That was sent from a letter. That was actually to protect the church, not to protect the state. right? And don't forget, it was Christians who built the Western society that we lived in that actually protected so many and pulled so many out of the slavery, out of the poverty. It was a Christian nation. It was only Western civilization that was a Christian nation. They were the ones to abolish slavery first and second and third, I believe, and then all after that. They spent lives in terms of defending the abolishment of slavery. So don't have your pastors in that. They need to stand up. They need to take they need to take responsibility for a lot of the problems that we've got now, because they have not stood up. They really haven't. And I think that's a severe problem. Look, I think we can get into here quite strong, but Leao, we've crossed our 1 hour. Leao, I would love it if you could maybe have a last word, and then if you could, would you mind sending us home with a decent prayer so that we can finish off tonight's episode?
And Alex just wanted to know what party I was standing for. DemocracyNZ is who I'm standing for. Listen, we do have the power. We do have the power as the people. We do have it. Whether we decide to do it together or not, that's going to be another story. But your values, again, we've said this for years, Elliot, haven't we? That vote to your values. Like if you find a party that, that your values align with, that, give you hope, then vote for them. But vote strategically, because that vote's going to count. And it's really going to count. And actually, there's a couple of things I just want to bring up, Elliot, before we finish. Did you know that when you do a special vote, when you do a vote early, that if you have an early vote, then, because I remember Jacinda going early and saying, don't go to the rush of election day, go in and vote early. So if you vote early, that will automatically be counted electronically. All right. So anything can happen electronically. Don't we know all about that? So the whole push around voting early is starting to not make sense in my head anymore. So it's important to have scrutineers, those who will be able to, yeah. So anyway, anyway, I thank you. Thanks for this time and opportunity. So
well said. So if you could, would love it for you to finish us off with a bit of prayer, and we'll call it a night on that one.
Okay. Lord, just want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to stand. And thank you, God, that we can come and have frank and honest conversations. We pray for your blessing and favor over those who are here. And I pray, God, for the journey ahead, that you will keep us true to you and, Lord, to be faithful. We thank you for this opportunity. Again, we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. God bless you all. We'll see you again real soon. Pass it forth.